Welcome, everyone, to the second episode of the Service-Based Business Podcast. I'm your host, Ben Moreland. Welcome. Here I am, doing this again. We're on a roll. 2-episode roll. That's what I like to hear. I'm here with my Tahitian treat. It's pretty good. Today we're going to be talking about outdoor fall services that you can add to your business. These are specifically for kind of the lawn maintenance guys or like the yard landscaping guys. I realize it's a little bit late to full scale advertise these businesses depending on where you live. For me, it's really like this is like after this week would probably be about like the end of where you'd want to do like your first round of advertising should have been done. I feel like I did my first round last week. Probably is all I'm gonna do, except for like I only did like I'll get. Okay, actually I'm gonna jump into it real quick. So I basically posted a Facebook ad last week. It didn't do so well. I ran it last week, I guess I should say. I got a couple shares and stuff out of it. Had one potential customer. It just didn't work out. Which will be a whole nother. I'm sure I'll tell that story in another episode. But yeah, that was what I did. I still have to post on Nextdoor. I haven't done that yet. But anyways, all right. So fall outdoor services for the fall. Things that if you are a landscaper or you are lawn maintenance, yard service, whatever you call yourself, these are different services that you can add to your business and do. You can do them, you know. Some of them are easier to get into. Some of them are harder to get into. Some of them might be right for your business. Some of them might not be right for your business, depending upon your service area, things like that. So I'm gonna jump right into it with the first really easy thing that you can add to your business. You can advertise. You can sell it to your current clients, which I think is actually the first best way to go about it, is to talk to your current clients. And let's talk about that for a sec. Selling to your current clients, because this is actually the first year I've ever really done that, where I have made the initiative to reach out to clients. And actually it's really not that hard. Like I think before, like in the past, I've kind of been like not so sure if I want to do it, just because I kind of felt awkward about it. But I think actually is really, once you do it for the first time, it becomes easy. It's not a big deal. So I always personally, before I come and do service, usually the day of or the day before, I will always, I reach out and I just confirm mowing. Especially, I usually just always do it. Especially the last 2 seasons, it's been, we've had lots of dry periods, and so I just don't want to go out to a yard and the whole yard's dead, and I don't want to waste my time if the client would just rather not have it mowed. I don't want to do that. I especially don't want to get a call or text halfway through the property being like, oh, you don't have to mow, it's all dead or something, right? So I always just check to confirm, and especially now, it's cooling down here where I live. We haven't been getting a whole lot of rain, so the grass hasn't really been growing all that much. So I always check to confirm. But anyways, and afterwards too, actually, it doesn't even really make a difference if you do that. All I will do is I'll just text, either you can do it when you do that text to confirm thing. If you have automated messages, you can just go in after the automated message sends and then just follow up real quick. You can do it after the service, whatever it is. I know like a lot of my electronic payment customers, the people who pay me electronically, not with cash, or anyone who doesn't like hand me the money, which is most of my clients, I usually text them. I'll just say, all finished, whatever, right? Just so that they know that I'm done. They send payment, whatever. And so after in that message, you can literally just say, hey, I also want to let you know that I'll be offering this is for fall services. If you're interested, let me know. It's literally that easy. I don't know. I guess I kind of overthought it before. It's literally super easy way to do it. So anyways, all right, let's get into this first. This first service you can offer is cleanups. Cleanups are easy. They're relatively cheap to get into. You can charge fairly well for them, and lots of people want it done. If they're already paying you to cut their grass, they're probably gonna pay you to haul leaves, rake leaves, haul leaves, branches, brush, things of that nature, other various yard debris they might have. They're probably going to be willing to pay you to do the cleanup and to haul that crap away. It's literally that simple. It's real easy to start, of course. All you really need, like, very easily, you can start it with, a rake, rake or two, and some contractor bags. In all honesty, contractor bags, to me, I have mixed feelings about them. Every place I go, the contractor bags suck. Somehow my dad has these drum liners, and they're the thickness of them is like, it's got to be 5 or 6 mil thick plastic bags, and I love them so much. I love these bags. They're, first of all, they're huge and they're thick, and so I can use them. We've been using the same, we have like a big drum of them out in my garage, but I've been using the same bags for years and years. Like, if I have to go and bag lawn clippings, I just grab a bag, whatever, and they last. I mean, eventually they're going to get ripped. You're going to throw a big stick in there, and it's going to rip the bag, or, it's just going to get beaten down. But my dad's been using them at my house for years. But I cannot find, I guess I haven't looked too hard, but I always contractor bags are like 3. They're all like 3, maybe 4 mil. I never feel like I can find real thick ones. So that's my rant about contractor bags. Anyways, but yeah, that's literally all you need to get started. Other options for things like using a tarp. I actually I've been trying out kind of as I get the opportunity to use tarps for things, especially like sticks. Tarps are good for sticks, especially if you got to pick up. You can just, if you have, it's especially easy if you are more than just a one-man crew. If you're a solo operator, it's a little harder because sometimes moving around that tarp might not be the easiest thing, especially if it's full. And you really want to make sure, another tip for tarps is to really make that tarp big. Like, if you only have a small pile, you want that tarp to be bigger, like a lot bigger, and it's going to make transporting it, or even like if you feel like it's too big, you'd rather have the tarp be too big than too small, because if it's too small and you're just a solar operator and you're trying to load it in the back of your truck, you're gonna wish that you had done it bigger. Learn from my mistake. I only had to make the mistake once, because now I know to make it bigger, right? So definitely just a little tip there for tarps. Anyways, but yeah, you can get tarps instead of bags if you want, is an option. That makes, you're not going to spend as much time like bagging up your leaves per se. The one thing to just be to be aware of if you have a tarp is just going to be like transport. You just have to think about what your setup is going to be. If you're trailerless and you just have a truck bed, are you just going to dump the leaves right into the truck bed after your tarp's full? Just something you got to think about. It's kind of the logistics of it. If you've got a trailer, are you just going to dump the leaves into the trailer, or what? What's kind of your plan? You just got to think about that. If you want to spring for the best of the best, of course you can get like 55-gallon like drums, and those are going to last for forever, and those you can fill them up with leaves and then go dump them in your truck bed or whatever. So those are another great option. And then, of course, if you really want to get fancy, I know that I think a lot of the bigger companies use they use leaf blowers to blow the leaves, and I only have a small little electric leaf blower, which is great for just grass clippings. For $70, it was whatever. Good investment, because I already had batteries and stuff for it. But if you have a more power, if you have a backpack blower or a stand-on blower or whatnot, handheld blower, handheld gas blower, even is great for that. And I've kind of already touched on it, but there's a very large market for this. Not everybody might not be able to do it. Not everybody actually does clean their yard. I know, like, in the past years of my life, like, we haven't always actually cleaned up our leaves around. Like, we haven't always raked leaves in the fall. Sometimes we've left them just on the yard. Some people, I guess, say it's better for your yard or something. I don't really know. But there's a pretty large market for cleanups. You know, people want it. You know, especially if you already got your clients who are paying for you to come and mow their lawn. It's a really easy additional service that you can offer, and if you get it right, you can probably go and mow. You know, you could probably mow and do the cleanup all at the same time. The only thing to be worried about with that as well is just like something to think about is how many bags of leaves are you gonna have, especially if you're bagging. Like how many leaf bags are you gonna have? Plus, you're gonna have all your mowing equipment if you're doing it that way. So just think about that, and plus, you know, your rakes or whatever. So just a little thing to think about there. But anyways, yeah, cleanups, great additional service you can offer. Pretty affordable to get into. Really not. You don't really need to be too skilled to offer cleanups. You know, just do a good job, and you'll be set. You know, as far as pricing, you just got to think about, you know, your time. You know, how much time is it going to take you to complete that job? You know, how much an hour are you working for? You know, if you're a solo operator, we'll just take in your $20 an hour for yourself. How many, it takes you 2 hours, and that's the only two things you have to, you know, other things you might have to factor in, you know, like, yeah, and insurance and stuff, right? If you're like a legitimate business, you've got insurance and stuff, you got to think about that kind of thing. Gas, dumping fees if you have dumping fees, those kinds of things. You just got to think about those things as well as factoring into price. Yeah, don't undersell yourself too much either. Like, raking's hard work sometimes, or it can be, you know, especially depending on the conditions. If you've got real thick, wet leaves, then it's going to be a lot more difficult than if they're like dry and there's not that much. So just some things to think about for cleanups. Yeah. Kind of the next, I feel like, broad topic, and I guess cleanups kind of falls into that category. It's just, well, do fall lawn like your grass itself. I have it labeled here as fall maintenance. I guess technically cleanups is fall maintenance, but yeah. So one thing you can offer is lawn edging. And this is especially good. This is, if you ask me, is a good way to get into edging. You know, you can offer it in the spring or the fall. Either work. Some people might they might want it, you know, twice. And so, especially if you have a yard where there are no edges, you know, it's maybe never been edged before. You go, especially if you get like you know, I personally have like a steel combi system, and I think Echo has a similar kind of system, and I've seen other ways where people have actually taken off their trimmer head and put on an edger like head. Like, it's not really designed to do it per se. Like, the combi system is designed to where you can take the trimmer attachment plus, you know, a section of extension, I guess you'd call it, and put in the edger. You know, it's meant to work that way. But I've seen someone on TikTok, they literally took the trimmer head off and were able to get an edger bottom, you know, the wheel and blade and stuff on there, and I don't know, got it to work fairly easily. Like, literally just unscrewed it, it beats me. I actually don't. I don't have an edger, but I'm looking to get into this year. But anyways, a great way to get into edging and offering edging year round is to add it in the fall or spring as a service you provide. You know, cut those fresh edges for the fall or for the springtime. When you are cutting a fresh edge, of course, there's like the actual doing of it. You know, you have to make sure you do it at the right speed to get a nice clean edge. Of course, I've never edged, so I'm really not the edge expert, but edging expert. But I can tell you at least a few things. And another thing, you just have to make sure that you factor in, like, the fact that you're doing a fresh edge as into your price. You know, how much of an over how much overgrowth is there onto that where that sidewalk is. How are you going to get rid of that? Is it just a little bit of grass or something, or is it going to be thick, grass, creeping Charlie, dirt that you're going to have to take and clean up and, haul away? Or what are you going to do with that debris? Something to think about as well when you're doing fresh edges. Again, you can literally do that with like a shovel or something, or like a push broom and tarper bags. Just getting that debris out of there, away from the sidewalk, putting it in a pile, putting it on the tarp or in a bag or whatever, haul it away, right? So that's something you can offer. Again, just have to think about comparing to like your on-season edging. Like a lot of like you have a property you do where you mow and you trim and you edge, and so you might be doing that edging every time you service, but that edging is going to be a much lighter edge. There's only going to be just basically grass that has started to grow into that edge. But with this kind of edging that I'm talking about, seasonal edging, you're going to have a lot of overgrowth. There might be dirt there. There's going to be thick amounts of yard like material, grass or weeds or whatever that they're growing, kind of onto the sidewalk or whatever. So you have to think about that. Like, it's going to take you more time, and it's going to be more damage, if wear and tear on your equipment. So that's something you have to, make sure that you're charging appropriately for that, and don't use a string trimmer when you're cutting a fresh edge. If you're doing a, personally, I don't know, I've never seen the real appeal of. I would personally, if like it's like okay, if I'm gonna do edging, I'd much rather use a a stick edger compared to a string trimmer. I guess I feel like if I was doing like routine edging, a string trimmer wouldn't be so bad. It'd probably save you time having to, untwist out the string trimmer head and put the new edger attachment on. Especially when you're starting out, you don't have multiple motors where you can just like take it and go. So something to. What? I totally just lost my train of thought. But yeah, basically, long story short, make sure you're charging more for the seasonal edging as compared to your string trimmer edging. Is maybe fine during the routine edging, and of course if you already have cut in the edge and you've been maintaining it every week, maybe you do a fresh cut of the edge in the spring, nice and slow. You may charge more for that. I'll be honest with you, I don't know how much that is something you have to do every beginning of the season, but some customers might not want to pay the extra $5, $10, $15 or whatever you are gonna charge additionally for weekly for edging every time they get serviced. So they might only want it seasonally. Again, it's a good way to offer it. If you have a bunch of clients who never offered edging before, you offer it in the fall or in the spring, and then you can in the fall you can either way you can keep it for the season and continue to offer it. If you charge $30 to do fresh cut edge, maybe it's like $5, $10, whatever additional on their already mow and trim. So yeah, edging. The next 3, I guess 4 technically, I am not an expert in at all. I know very little. I mean, I know a little bit, but I did do some research into these maybe this past spring and the fall or spring before, but I'm not a super big expert. So if I say something that's incorrect, apologize in advance. Do your own research if you're gonna actually add these. Anything that I say, do your own research. Alright, don't just listen to me. I'm not the brightest, but alright, get a drink quick. Alright. These 3 excuse me. I literally burped right into the mic. I apologize. The market might be more niche. You have to understand. First thing I'll say, your market is probably not going to be as broad as edging or as fall cleaning or as cleanups. So starting out, we've got overseeding. This definitely falls into that grass maintenance type of deal where you're seeding in new grass. Now, I could totally be wrong. This might not even be something that you do in the fall. Again, I don't really know. I do believe that I've seen it as a fall thing that people do is they overseed their lawns. So I included it in this episode of the podcast. I could be wrong. Do research. Anyways, you can do overseeding with a seed spreader and seed. One thing to be careful about, especially if you are, make sure you've got the right licenses and insurance and such for this when you're applying, because you're applying something to the yard at this point. I'm not sure, I guess, if seed counts as like a chemical, but I know like you do need to be licensed oftentimes if you're applying like fertilizers or other things to the grass, and you don't want to apply bad seed or something and you burn out the lawn or whatever. You don't want to be responsible for that. All you personally, like you want your company to have to, you want to separate you from your company in that way. And if overseeding falls into applicating, I have literally no idea. I'm kind of just guessing here. If it does, and you have a problem, that's not going to well because you're not properly licensed. So make sure that maybe I'm a total moron and you don't need to be licensed to do seeding. I don't know, but do some research before you totally jump into seeding. The next one is aeration. Fall aerating, aeration is probably actually easier to do than overseeding. At least if you ask me. Well, maybe not easier, but I don't think there's any like special things you might have to have for aeration. There's one I feel like bigger obstacle when it comes to offering aeration, and that is just that your options for an aerator it's not cheap to get into. And so you have a couple different options when you're looking to get into it. And for this, by the way, I'm talking about like plug aerating, just for the record. There are a couple different ways you can do it. If you have like customers who are looking for aeration, or you can offer it, right? You can say, hey, I'm doing it, right? And what you can do is you can go and you can rent an aerator from a lot of places. You can rent it for a day or a weekend or a week or whatever. And if you get all your jobs lined up, even if you normally don't work weekends, maybe you try and get all your stuff done during the week because you're side hustling or whatever. You can add it. Do a Saturday where you just go and you bang out your aeration jobs. Maybe it's a really long work day, but you're gonna make your money back. So that's definitely a way to get into it. To start offering it. That's a way to get into it, get some experience doing it before you go out and either buy a walk behind aerator, buy a stand on aerator, or a pull behind aerator. Those are kind of your options for doing bigger jobs as they make 30-inch stand on aerators, and if you have like a lawn tractor, garden tractor, they know that they make pull behind aerators. I'm not too sure if those do quite as well or do kind of the same thing exactly as like your walk behind or stand on aerators, but those are options. Especially if you're doing a bigger scale, you're gonna want those as compared to I don't really know I think most aerators that you walk behind ones are like 24-inch. Don't quote me on that, but those are kind of your options for aerating, plug aerating. I think you can, again, do your own research about doing it on a commercial scale. You might have to take and I believe like kind of you take in like you'll go over it with the aerator and you'll actually create all these cores that are going to be all over the yard. And so one thing you have to keep in mind is you might have to clean those up. I'm not exactly sure if that is like, do your own research about if that's what you should be doing or not. I believe it's what you do. Again, not an expert. I'm kind of just like giving some ideas here and giving a little information about them. The next one is dethatching, which, if you don't know what dethatching is essentially where you're pulling up all of the dead grass that's sitting on the dirt. And so, much like aeration, it allows your yard and your grass lawn to breathe better. So there are a couple different dethatching options. They make for like a garden tractor, lawn tractor, they make pull behind dethatchers that you just, again, it's just like an attachment. You put your little trailer thing up there on your lawn tractor and pull behind, and it's got big tines, spring things. Spring? I don't know. They're tines, if you ask me, is what I call it. And it essentially dethatches the yard. Sunjoe makes an electric dethatcher that is corded. I believe it comes with a bagger, but not 100% sure. Yeah, I think it comes with a bagger, but of course you don't have to run it with the bagger on there. That's an option. That's really the only like walk behind option that I've seen for dethatching. I don't think a lot of people really offer dethatching, but it is something that you might be able to offer. And the other option I've seen is like is a power rake, they're called, and so it's a commercial. It's more of a heavy duty piece of equipment. Is a power rake. I do believe compared to like something like the Sunjoe, where it's that corded dethatcher, the power rakes are a little more aggressive. I believe they have a couple different actual, what would you call it, things you can use, methods, I guess, like the actual implement part that dethatches the yard. I believe they have a different like couple options on based on how aggressive you want it to be. But I believe that in general the power rake is a little more aggressive than something like the Sunjoe or your pull behind. Another option that if I was gonna get into dethatching, I probably wouldn't even look into. I probably would just like I'd maybe buy one, but like I wouldn't really be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do an entire yard. Would be a dethatching rake. They make like rakes that have the little dethatching tines, and you can take and use that. That might be good if you're going up against a fence or something. Might be better than using your pull behind or a walk behind. So yeah, those are kind of those bigger piece of equipment ones. The another thing you can do in the fall is offer like mulch spreading. Again, I don't really know too much about it. I did have one job where I was maybe gonna do some mulch spreading, didn't end up doing it. It was, I believe, last fall, and last fall I feel like the snow came pretty fast. We were like, oh, it's the fall, and we're gonna start looking into doing cleanups and stuff, and then snow came. So we did not really get I didn't get to do any mulch spreading then, but something you can offer, spreading mulch on, garden beds and stuff needs to be done, yeah, I don't really got much else to say about that one. Another thing I kind of just thought of that some people might want is like hole filling. I know I have a couple customers who have a hole in their yard. They have a big old hole in their yard, and one thing that you might be able to offer is to fill that with dirt or compost of some kind. It might be an option, especially if you're going to be doing if you're going to also be offering like overseeding, then you're already going to be having the grass seed, and so you can see that area pretty nice and easily. Now, we are on to the final fall service, and that is gutter cleaning. Gutter cleaning, I feel like, is pretty easy to get into. if you're a legitimate business and you're not just doing it on the side, one thing you need to be aware of is, of course, your guys are going up on a ladder. And when guys go up on a ladder, that's liability. And that means can be expensive. So just think about that. Anyways, what do you need for gutter cleaning? Well, if you never cleaned gutters before, you can literally go up there with your hands and clean out the gutter. You just need a ladder and, maybe some bags, or get a tarp. Tarps, bags, whatever. You go up there. You'd probably want some gloves. Go up there and just scoop out the crap. I have seen guys. I know some guys will go up there, and if it's wet, they'll use their hands. Ooh, excuse me. And if it's dry, they use a leaf blower. The one thing about that you just have to be aware is you're going to be spraying that debris everywhere. With a leaf blower, you don't have a lot of control where that goes. Yeah. So just think about that. If you're thinking about doing a leaf blower, you go up, literally walking along the roof line and just blowing them out. That is something that people do. I'll be honest with you, I couldn't find, in the little bit of research I didn't really find about anything about, do a lot of people usually clean up that debris or leave that debris. My assumption is that they clean up that debris after they do the job. I saw that. When it's wet, we go up there with our hands, and they'll take a scoop and just drop it. It's like, where are you putting that debris? And my assumption then was that they put it on the yard and then clean it up after. I guess, I don't know, maybe that's not, I have no idea. I'll be honest with you, what is common practice amongst guys who clean gutters. Again, I didn't do a whole lot of research, but I try to at least do a little bit of research. I personally, the way I do it is I literally have gone up on a ladder. I will literally take a bag with me in my hand, and I go up on the ladder, and I just scoop the crap into the bag. Literally, my right hand's in the gutter, cleaning crap out, dumping it in there, and my other hand's got the bag. Depending upon how wet and heavy that the gutter debris is, that will depend upon how much I fill the bag. If it's wet and heavy, I'm only gonna fill that bag halfway full. Be thinking about that as well. Just you don't want to overfill your bag, and then it's too heavy and you can't safely get down the ladder. Another option that I've kind of thought about is putting out a tarp and just drop your debris on the tarp. You might want to get some 5-gallon buckets, maybe, is another option, and just take those up, especially if you're going to actually get up on the roof. Depending upon the angle of the roof and how steep it is, you can literally probably get up on the roof and just take that bucket with you, fill it up. Then you could have a tarp, and you could probably just take and you can maybe hook the bucket on the ladder, bring 2 of them up with you or something, take and dump them on a tarp, or dump it in a bag when you're done, once the buckets are full. Whatever, those are a couple different options for you. Other things that you might want is some water. At least if you ask me, I personally would like to run water down the downspout, at the very least, is run some water down the downspout of the gutters to make sure that isn't clogged. I never thought about it, but literally you can use a penny. I saw a video and it's like, oh yeah, you can just use a penny. Just drop a penny down the gutter. If you get that penny, comes down, it's clean. And that's true too. So if you don't have access to water, that's another good thing to use. Otherwise, yeah, if you don't have any sort of a system, a tank and a pump and all that, you can probably literally use the customer's hose. Probably isn't a big deal. If you want to make sure, if you don't have a penny or something with you, or if, you've got just a lot of, debris, if that just sitting there and you can just, it's all stuff you can just rinse down. That's another way to do it. Especially if you get a lot of shingle, powder, I guess. You get a lot of, you got shingles have that, the stuff rubs off the shingles as it rains, and so you get that sometimes sediment, I guess, built up in the gutter, and so you can take and I feel like the easiest way to clean that out is just to take and turn the hose to jet and just spray it out, give it a little bit of pressure. If downspout is clogged, I only ever had one downspout clogged one time, and I literally was just able to get it cleaned, able to get it cleaned with the jet sitting on the hose and just taking and running the hose down there, kind of filling just the pressure, and I eventually cleaned it out. It's funny, that gutter, there were so much, they had their shingles done semi-recently when I went to do that job, and there was nails upon nails upon nails up there in the gutters, and shingle bits, like not even just like the fine sediment, but like bigger shingle bits, I believe, sitting in the gutters. Yeah, and I literally was there for maybe 20 minutes. They, at the time I was charging $20 for a whole house of gutters, pretty much, which I would never charge that now, of course. But I was like 14 or whatever, so I was charging pretty low. And yeah, I think they paid me like $40. So I was like, dang, they paid me $40. I did like nothing. But yeah. So, anyways, those are kind of my fall service ideas that I have. Oh, I'm gonna throw in a bonus one, and I honestly don't know if there's really much of a market for this or not. I feel like there's really not, but when I was thinking about winter services, which is actually what next episode's gonna be about, one thing is that they offer is Christmas lights. And I was thinking, well, it's a cheaper way for me to get into that. And I always thought, oh, maybe inflatables, like Christmas, inflatable snowman or something. It was, just an idea that popped in my head. Would that be would that be something I could offer? And one thing I kind of thought about as well, they have Christmas inflatables. They also have Halloween or Thanksgiving inflatables or other decorative yard items. So, that might be an option for you, depending upon where you live, is fall decorating, setting up inflatables or whatever. And if you do that, you just got to think about how are you going to sell those inflatables? Are you selling the inflatable to the customer, and then they keep the inflatable, or are they kind of renting it from you? Something to think about if they're renting it from you, which I really would say is not the greatest option. I feel like selling it to them is a better option, but if they're renting it from you, you got to think about, what was I going to say? What happens if something's damaged or whatever? You got to think about those kinds of things as well. So, anyways, those are my outdoor fall service ideas for people who are in, you're a landscaper or something and you're looking for some fall service ideas. I feel like those are kind of the best ones, at least that I can think of, that are kind of like yard maintenance, landscapey related. Or all those, I guess, like gutter cleaning really isn't super related to that, but I feel like it's a pretty easy thing that you can add to your repertoire, especially if you're if you're a teenager just getting started, or even if you're older and just getting started. It's something you can add to your repertoire. Just be aware when you're doing gutter cleaning. You have your surroundings. Make sure not to hurt yourself. I actually was just talking to a customer today. I was cutting his grass. He was telling me the story, and his house, there's like a wood fence, tall wood fence, and then there's his house, and there's like a small walkway, and there's visible foundation, and then there's his house, and he had actually been cleaning the gutters, and he had the ladder super steep, and so he kind of like climbed to the backside of the ladder, swung around to like the front of it basically, or whatever. He was telling me that. Long story short, the ladder basically ended up going straight up, and he fell, and he's got like a bunch of bolts and plates in his foot, and he's got a big scar in his foot and stuff. So be careful anytime you're going up on a ladder, whether it's for gutter cleaning or I don't know, whatever else you're doing. Be careful, be safe. Very important things to keep in mind. I'm not responsible for any injuries that you do just because you decide to clean gutters. But with that being said, I hope you guys did enjoy. yeah, I hope I was able to bring someone at least a little bit of value. This video is not sponsored by Tahitian Treat, although I wish. Who makes Tahitian Treat even? Yeah, anyways, hope you guys enjoy this episode of the podcast. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you all next week. Peace.